Okay, so the first and most important thing is that vertex. The vertex is at negative b over 2a. Let's figure out what that is. The b is 8, so that's negative 8. 2 times a. In this case, our a is a negative 2. Okay, so we end up with negative 8 over negative 4. Negative divided by a negative is a positive. 8 divided by 4 is 2. So that's the x-coordinate of our vertex. We have to put that back into the equation to find the y-coordinate. So y is equal to negative 2. We're going to put that 2 in for x. We're going to put the 2 in for x. And what do we end up with? First of all, we have to do exponents first. 2 times 2 is 4. And then 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. 2 times 8 is 16. We end up with positive 6 here. I'm sorry, positive 8. Sorry, positive 8 minus 6. And we end up with y is equal to 2. That's just a coincidence that these were the same number. Doesn't always happen. But now we know the vertex is at 2, 2. That's how you find the vertex. Now, axis of symmetry, easy. It's just based on the x-coordinate, x equals to 2. That's it, right? Y-intercept, super easy. It's just that c value that's all by itself, the negative 6. It's 0, negative 6, right? Domain. Okay, we know that one's all real numbers. The range, a little harder to see because we haven't graphed one like this. So let's graph it first and then we'll come back to the range later on. So we've got our y-axis and we have our axis. Where's our vertex? 2, 2. So I don't really have to change the axis up or down too much because that's not too far off from the middle. It hasn't been moved too far away. But here's what I'm going to do. Remember that original graph, okay, where we end up with 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 4, 3, 9. In this case, we're going to multiply that by negative 2 because there's a negative 2 for our a value. Okay, that's multiplying all of the regular values of x coordinates, multiplying everything by negative 2. So watch what we have. Instead of a 0, we're still going to have 0 because 0 times negative 2 is still 0. 1 is now going to be negative 2. 4 is now going to be negative 8. 9 is now going to be negative 18. So here's what happens. First, plot the vertex. First step, plot the vertex, which is at 2, 2. There's the vertex, 2, 2. Normally, on the quadratics, we would go to the right 1 and up 1. That's what we had with the original. I'm going to show you the original again. Look at the original. The original from the vertex goes to the right 1 and up 1. But instead of going up 1, it's going to multiply it by negative 2. And instead, it's going to go down 2. So here's what happens. Instead of going to the right 1 from this point and going up 1, right 1, up 1, we're going to go to the right 1 and down 2. Okay. Instead of going to the right 2 from that vertex and up 4, we're going to go right 2 and down 8. So 1, 2, and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And guess what? Everything's symmetrical. So everything on the left of this point is exactly the same. Okay, now we can draw that graph and we can see what it looks like. Because it was multiplied by a negative 2, it actually took the whole graph and flipped it upside down because it took all the values and made them negative instead of positive. So instead of going up to positive infinity, it's now flipped down and it's going to be going downwards. So a lot of times on the graph, they want you to graph the axis of symmetry. That just means we're going to do a little dotted line like that. And we're going to just label it x equals 2. Okay, a lot of times they're going to want you to label the y-intercept. Notice this y-intercept, where did it cross? 0, comma, negative 6, 0, comma, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They might want you to label that point, okay? Now that you understand that this negative 2 flipped it upside down, let's talk about the range. The range now has values from this point. It's still in relation to the vertex. The y-coordinate is up at +2, but it's everything below it. Instead of saying y is greater than 2, we're going to say y is less than or equal to 2. That tells us where all the y values are. So that's it. That's it. You take this, x equals negative b over 2a, you find the value, you plug it into the function to see what the y value is to go with it. That's your vertex. Your axis of symmetry is just the x coordinate that's equal to it. Your y-intercept is always that last c value, okay? And then you can graph it based on that vertex, knowing the original graph goes to the right one and up one. But this one is going to take that same pattern and multiply it by negative 2. So if you could just write down that pattern of what that would be if we multiplied that by negative 2, and I got the negative 2 coming from that a value. Then you can go from that point and go to the right one and down 2 instead of going to the right one and up 1. So that gives you the graph, that gives you all that information. If they ask you for the information without the graph, that's okay. Most of this you can do through calculations. So I hope that helps. Contact me or send me a text with any questions you have.